Judges across Canada have approved a deal that could see a resolution to one of the darkest marks in Canada's history. Starting back in the 1870s and lasting into the 1970s, Aboriginal children were taken out of their homes, forced to attend so-called residential schools in order to be assimilated into mainstream Canadian society.
At these schools, many children were subjected to the worst abuses. Now the Canadian government and church groups that ran the schools are offering about 80,000 former students a multi-billion-dollar compensation package. But some say no amount of money can heal their wounds. Their intentions could not have been clearer: to kill the Indian in the Indian child. And this is one of the places where it played out, the Portage Residential School in Manitoba, Canada. Max Merrick came here in 1930.
Mum brought me here for the horse and buggy. She says, I want you to learn the ways of a white man, because our ways of living is diminishing.
This was just one of more than 100 residential schools where Aboriginal children lost their languages, cultures, and identities. Brothers and sisters were forced to live here, and they were not allowed to talk to one another.
This is where I got the strap. Remember, when the principal asked me to remove my clothes, and this is where he gave me the strap.
Yes, this place was a place for kids that misunderstood.
Children were locked in closets, deprived of meals, or beaten in front of their classmates. Many have reported being sexually abused. Florence Merrick first went into residential school at the age of 5 and stayed until she was 17.
They never took into consideration that you can't change my color. I'm the color that I am. My hair is going to be the same. You know, you can train me to go live in that world. You can do everything you can, but you haven't trained that world to take me in as an equal.
By the 1970s, residential schools began to shut down, but the legacy of the system still haunts the Aboriginal community. Phil Fontaine is one of Canada's most influential Aboriginal leaders. He also went through the residential school system.
It has caused the First Nation community incredible problems, and it's people, far too many have had a very difficult time overcoming the experience.
The Native community faces the highest rates of unemployment, incarceration, alcohol and drug abuse, and suicide in Canada. They are the poorest group of people in the country. For years, efforts by Aboriginal leaders to get the Canadian government to make their issues a priority resulted in little success. But Fontaine spearheaded negotiations with the then Liberal government, reaching a deal in the spring of 2005. Up to $5 billion for survivors of the residential school system.
This was the most racist act in Canadian history, and that has scarred generations of Aboriginal peoples.
Irwin Cotler was Canada's Minister of Justice, a key member of the Liberal government that reached the settlement with the Aboriginal people. Included in the deal, $10,000 for every survivor of the residential school system and $3,000 for every year they attended. There will also be additional payments to students who suffered sexual and physical abuse.
Money cannot fix what's happened. It'll help. It'll help because we are poor people. It will help materialistically. You know, it'll get me a new fridge. It'll get me a new stove, sure. But it's not going to fix my relationship with my sons. We can't even hug each other. We don't know how to show affection.
We must forgive. We must move on. We must set aside this dark cloud that's been hanging over our community.